Hi students of class 10 CBSE. I am here with analytical paragraph. You know student, this has been introduced only this year and it has been introduced in place of story writing that you had previous year. As you know, story writing carried 10 marks, so does analytical paragraph. Okay, so today we shall learn about analytical paragraph, how to write an analytical paragraph. But before I go any further, I would like to give you the overview of the points that I am going to discuss with you regarding analytical paragraph. Okay, to start with this one. These are the things that we are going to discuss, points to be discussed in this video. What is an analytical paragraph? What is an analytical paragraph? Number one. Number two, discussion of pie chart, graph, bar graph. Number three, format. Number four, full-fledged discussion of a question. Number five, marking scheme. Number six, points to remember. Okay, students. And now, first of all, let us know what is an analytical paragraph. Before we write an analytical paragraph, let us find out what is this, because it is altogether a new writing task for us. And it is so sudden for us that we need to learn it, because this is only the first year that this writing task has been introduced. This is the first year of this writing task. What is an analytical paragraph? Actually, it has four aspects and I will deal with each of them separately. Number A, an analytical paragraph presents evidence in order to prove and support your thesis. First of all, let us find out evidence. Evidence means proof. Actually, suppose you say that 30% of the people in this country are below the poverty line. Suppose this is your thesis. Thesis means assertion, the claim that you make, the belief that you have. But you will have to support it with facts and figures and data. Okay. So you will give evidence to prove that what you say is correct. And for this you will introduce pie chart, graph, bar graph to prove that yes, 30% people of the country are below the poverty line, if this is your thesis. Okay, students. So first part is an analytical paragraph presents evidence, means through analytical paragraph you give proof, evidence that what claims you are making is correct. Okay, whatever claims you are making are correct. So an analytical paragraph presents evidence in order to prove and support your thesis. About thesis, I have also defined thesis here. What is a thesis? A thesis is a statement that declares what you believe and what you intend to prove. Actually, it all starts with an assumption. You say that most of the children these days are glued to their mobile sets, most of the children, and they surf nets. And for this you will have to give evidence, you will have to give proofs in the form of graphs, bar graphs, tables and different things, facts and figures you will have to give. So thesis is an assumption, a belief that you start with, but you try to prove this with the interpretation of data in the form of table, graph, bar graph or pie chart or map maybe even. Okay, students. So you will get to understand all these things clearly, more clearly, as we progress in this discussion regarding analytical paragraph. So a thesis is a statement that declares what you believe and what you intend to prove. Number B, this form of writing is used to interpret the facts presented in the form of a table, graph or a chart. You will have a graph or a table or a chart in analytical paragraph and your job is to explain it or interpret it. Okay, students, you will have to tell what does the chart indicate or what does the table indicate. Okay. Number C, a graph or a chart is a visual stimulus to depict the data. Now students, there are two kinds of stimulus. One is called verbal stimulus and second one is called visual stimulus. Now regarding verbal stimulus, I want to give you an example. You can recall that last year when you wrote stories, you had the start of the story given in the question. Once upon a time there was a king, and now you have to further the story. Or that you were given some points in the box. So when you are given some inputs, some help in the form of words, it is called verbal stimulus. But when you are given pictures, diagrams, graphs, pie chart, bar graph, all such things, they are called visual stimulus. Visual stimulus is related to our vision, which appeals to our eyes. Okay, and so far words are concerned, we have to understand them, but a picture is easy to understand. So it is a visual stimulus. A graph or a chart is a visual stimulus, and as I present you a graph or a chart, you will get to understand. Number D, it requires analysis, comparison of the given facts and drawing conclusion. It requires analysis and comparison of the given facts and drawing conclusion. Suppose regarding, as I told you in the beginning, if you want to claim that 30% of the population of the country is below poverty line, then for this you will have to present a graph, and graph will have lines, and you will have to prove that yes, and that yes, this is a fact, that 70% people are above the poverty line and 30% are below it. So students, I have given you the 4 aspects of analytical paragraph, and now you are in a better frame of mind to understand this one. Now question is, what is an analysis? Because you need to analyze the facts. An analysis is a detailed examination of the elements or structure of something. What is analysis? Analysis means examination. Suppose you are sitting in your room and I ask you to analyze your room. How will you analyze your room? You will look at the door, windows, ceiling, walls, different parts of the room. If you study them separately, if you study separately parts of a thing, things which are related, and then they make the whole. So suppose if you make an in-depth study of parts of a thing, it is called analysis. Analysis means a kind of examination of parts. Suppose there is a table, just table on which you write something, and table, if you want to analyze a table, how will you analyze it? It has 4 legs, it has surface, it has a drawer. So different parts of the table, if you study them separately, it is called analysis. Simply speaking, analysis is an examination of parts, and then you understand the relationship between the parts, okay, or structure of something. You can analyze a building, you can analyze a situation, you can analyze anything. Okay students, so next I am giving you an example of this bar graph. Bar graph showing average score in T20 matches. Here is a bar graph before you. Why is it called bar graph? Because it has skyscrapers, bars are all over it. So actually these skyscrapers, I mean tall buildings, indicate the run rate, okay, and balls indicate the wickets, okay. So it is a T20 match, all the 20 overs have been indicated, and here I want to tell you that what is the average score in T20, and I have calculated this one. The average score is between 160 to 165. Exactly it is 162 here, but it can be assumed that it is between 160 to 165. So you can study here, this is a bar graph, that as the match progresses, the run rate increases, okay, because batsmen tend to take chances, they take risks, okay, but in taking risks, wickets also fall. That's why you find more balls towards the end of the inning, okay. So this is the scenario there. So if you want to prove, suppose your thesis is that nearly 160 runs are scored in a T20 match on an average, then you can present this bar graph, okay. Wickets will also fall because towards the end, the skyscrapers are rising. You can see the tall buildings towards the end of the inning. So in this way students, I have presented you a bar graph. Suppose you get a question, okay, study this bar graph and make your conclusion, okay, then you will present it in this way. First you will study what does this graph tells you, that in the first over batsman scored a little over 6 runs, then near 7. Now in the third over it is nearing 9 or 10 runs. So in this way students, you are able to study it. More examples I give you. Second one is the map of India. Map of India showing distribution of annual rainfall in different parts of the country. You find that this map tells you that the distribution of rainfall is not even, not equal in different parts of the country. Some parts of the country received more rainfall and some parts of the country received less rainfall. And you can have this question. You will be asked to interpret this map, to study this map and draw the conclusion. Okay, students. So next one is, it's a case of pie chart, ownership of the pets. It is a circle here, and there are pets like dogs, cats, fish, rabbits and rodents. You will have to prove that majority of the people go for dogs, 55%. So by studying this pie chart, you can prove that yes, more people go for dogs than their second choice is cats. Okay, students. So in this way, I have given you 3 examples of bar graph, map and pie chart. Now, format of an analytical paragraph. What is the format of an analytical paragraph? Analytical paragraph will have 4 paragraphs. An analytical paragraph, it is called paragraph, but it has paragraphs, 4 paragraphs. The first one, introducing the thesis. Okay, first one is introducing the thesis, para 1. Then the body of this analytical paragraph will have 2 paragraphs. Okay, 2 and 3. It will elaborate your analysis, and finally conclusion part. Okay, this you will have to devote 1 more paragraph for this one. So in all you have 4 paragraphs. Now, full-fledged discussion of a question. The kind of question you will find in the examination, I mean half yearly or board examination, like this one. Write an analytical paragraph on the basis of the given chart, map, report, graph, etc. in about 150 to 200 words. Okay, this kind of question you will get. Report is a verbal stimulus. Mostly reports will not be given to you. You will get chart, map and or graph. Now this is the thing you can see here, and now the question is before you is that the world population since 1751 and carbon emissions, simultaneous carbon emissions, and I will present you a graph. Okay, here this graph, carbon emissions and the human population between 1751 to 2018, but we will stop short. We will cover the time period between 1751 to 2015. Okay, the blue line, students, indicate population growth. Okay, on your right side is the population figure given, and on your left is the carbon emissions, millions of tons. It has been indicated on your left side. Okay, so we shall discuss this graph, and on the basis of examination analysis of this graph, we shall come to the conclusion that more population has led to more carbon emissions. Okay, so as I told you, there will be 4 paragraphs. Now students, we have this introduction part. The graph makes a comparative study of the growth of human population and simultaneous increase in carbon emissions from 1751 to 2015 to prove that the growth of population increased the amount of carbon emissions. As I pointed out earlier, both are interrelated. More population means more carbon emissions, and this is my introduction. Second one is the body, paragraph 1. As I told you, this body will have 2 paragraphs, and we shall take up the population first of all. The human population in the world, which was around 1 billion in 1751, made a steady growth till 1903, but from then onwards it picked up growth and the incline became sharper and sharper. In 1943 it was just below 3 billion. It is interesting to note that the population which was around 1 billion in 1751 took nearly 160 years to double itself. The world population stood at 3 billion in 1959, but by 2015 it had grown nearly 2.5 times in 56 years. Actually, more population means more growth of population. Actually, for the first 160 years since 1751, the growth of population was very slow. But once population doubled itself, then the growth picked up. And this means that population, actually if it took 160 years for the population to double itself. Actually in 1751 the world population was 1 billion and it became 2 billion in 160 years. But in 1959 the world population stood at 3 billion, but it was 2.5 times more in 56 years. Actually I have taken up population here. In the next paragraph we shall take up carbon emissions. Body paragraph 2. Students, I would like to point out here, you need not write body paragraph 1 or body paragraph 2, okay? Just you will indicate the paragraph, that's enough, as you write in articles or speeches. Now coming to carbon emissions, during the same period we will make a study. The carbon emissions from 1751 to 1871 remained stable with not much growth, but from then on they showed more and more upward movements. Since 1951 there has been a spurt in the growth. In 1983 they were more than 5,000 million tons, and in 2015 they were around 10,000 million tons. Actually its effect was felt later on when the population growth has taken place and the world population had doubled itself, tripled itself. Then industrialization took place, more pollution happened, then carbon emissions also increased. And it is likely that in future that ratio and proportion between population and carbon emissions will be reversed. We will have more carbon emissions compared to the population. Means each individual is contributing to the pollution and more. And now we will reach the conclusion part, last paragraph. In the beginning, both the human population and the carbon emissions were constant. From the middle of the last century, carbon emissions grew at the similar pace in comparison to the growth in the human population. As the population grew, with this increased the carbon emissions. Their trajectory of growth became similar and parallel to the population growth from 1943 onwards. It is likely that the carbon emissions will have gone past human population in their growth by 2025. So what predictions are we making? We are predicting that in future, even if we control population, but carbon emissions will keep on increasing and will overtake population, and we will have a very frightening situation in future, because we have drawn such conclusions so far. Now, marking scheme. This question carries 10 marks. Format 1 mark, content 4 marks. Content means subject matter, what you write about the topic. Okay, in the analytical paragraph you should have enough points. Expression 5 marks. Expression has been divided into 2 parts: grammatical accuracy and fluency or consistency. Grammatical accuracy means grammatical mistakes should not be too many, and fluency means your ideas should be well organized. So in this way it is 10 marks. So when you write an analytical paragraph, you have to keep this marking scheme in your mind. Okay. And lastly, points to remember. These points are very important. Read the question carefully. Summarize the information by selecting the main features. You have to study the graphs and charts properly. You can also make relevant comparisons if needed. Don't add your own information. Don't add anything extra. You have to study the graph or the chart, pie chart or bar graph or map, but you will not add anything of your own. So students, this much from today's lesson. I'm sure you will be able to write analytical paragraph with confidence, and keep practicing. Please write in the comment section if you have any problem. Have a nice day. Thank you.